Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the NikeiD Magista Obra. Now as you can see, it comes in your standard black and white NikeiD box, nothing too special there. Open it up and you can see, just like the standard colorways, it does come with a string bag, although this one is a little bit different. The string bag is black in color with black strings, and you're going to find your white NikeiD branding on the front with absolutely nothing on the back. It's completely blank. So we'll get that out of the way. And of course, other than the string bag, all you're going to find inside the box are the shoes themselves. So we'll get these out of the box really quickly. And if you guys could take a second to leave a like on the video, it would be greatly appreciated. So here is a look at my NikeiD Magista Obras. For those that are unfamiliar with the NikeiD service, it is a service that allows you to customize your own colorway of a pair of Nike shoes. In this case, obviously, we're talking specifically about the Nike Magista Obra. Now, it's not a free service. A standard pair of Magista Obras retail for $275 US, where if you want a NikeiD custom colorway of the Magista Obra, it's going to run you $315 US for the firm ground variation and add an extra $10 for the soft ground pro variation. So it's a $40 premium to get the custom colorway. That's going to be worth it to some, not so worth it to others. But again, if you're looking for that custom colorway option, at least you have it out there. And $40 to me isn't too unreasonable to get a custom colorway. Now, as far as how long it takes for them to arrive, I placed my order about 4 weeks ago. They estimate 4 to 6. Mine arrived in 4. And the couple times that I have used NikeiD, it has taken only around 4 weeks and never closer to 6 or anything like that. So that's pretty quick for a customization service. And for the most part, there isn't much to complain about. The customizer is easy to use. The order process is pretty seamless. And again, you make your order and you wait for your shoes to arrive. There's really no extra steps required. So with that being said, let's get into the shoes and talk about all the details, and of course see whether or not the NikeiD version is different from the standard version of the Magista Obra. First of all, I just want to say thanks to you guys who helped me out with this particular shoe. About 4 weeks ago, I made a video announcing that I was going to be ordering a pair of NikeiD Magista Obras, and I asked you guys to share some of your own designs with me, letting me know what you would order if you were going to order a pair of NikeiD Magista Obras. Now, I want to say close to 3,000 entries or 3,000 submitted designs, and I looked through every single one of them. It took me a long time, but I definitely did it, and it gave me a really good perspective of all the different variations that are available with the Magista Obra. And honestly, there aren't as many variations as you would think, and there are some pretty big limitations that I'm going to talk about in just a second. But for the most part, there was lots of designs, and the reason why I like you guys submitting your own designs to me is whenever I make something on my own, a colorway on my own, I tend to go for something a little bit more low profile, a little bit more traditional, generally a black base, something that to most people anyways isn't the most exciting colorway. But when I see your designs, there's always like between 5 and 20 different colorways that I would have never come up with on my own that I actually quite like the look of. But ultimately, this is one of those themes or slight variations on this particular theme that was most common, and I ended up liking the best, which is why I ended up getting this particular colorway. I also asked you guys to include a theme with your designs, and a very common theme was the World Cup or teams in the World Cup. So I decided that to go along with this colorway, the customization of WC, the Brazilian flag, and of course the year 2014 was appropriate. WC obviously stands for World Cup if you didn't know, and you can see that is why it's printed on the side of the shoe, but more details on that in just a second. So here's the colorway that I went with. As far as what the limitations are with NikeiD, that's what I kind of want to start off with. So all the NikeiD shoes essentially start off as the standard launch color, where you have your Volt, Hyper Punch, Black, and Metallic Gold. So this is kind of the base color for any NikeiD shoe. You can actually choose to even have this clear Nike skin covering on the shoe, and then just customize the colorway of the Nike swoosh, which to me seems a little bit silly to pay that extra $40 to just have a different color Nike swoosh. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but I guess if you really wanted to do it, you could. But like I said, this is kind of the base for all the NikeiD Magista Obras. Obviously what's going to change is this little kind of ring, and just the base color of the sole plate. The black and pink will remain the same no matter which colorway you go with. And also the top of the laces, as well as the dynamic fit collar, along with this black ring at the top, always remain the same no matter which colorway variation you go with. So you can see that on my NikeiD Magista Obra, what changes is when you pick a color, the Nike skin covering that would normally be clear on the standard colorway turns into a solid color. In this case, I went with Game Royal, and you can see it covers up all of the different areas of the Magista Obra. So it's a little bit difficult to see on this shoe because it is actually clear, but you can see exactly where the Nike skin is positioned on the NikeiD variation because it's a solid color that it does not allow you to kind of see through and see that the Flyknit pattern on the underside. So I'm not sure if the Flyknit pattern, if you tore off this Nike skin, which you really can't, would look exactly like this. I'm not sure if it's identical underneath, but what I can tell you is it's obviously the same type of construction, the same feel, and other than just the looks, there's really nothing different about the NikeiD Magista Obra versus the standard colorway. So again, I went with the Game Royal, which I think looks pretty cool. One thing that I will say about the solid colorway is it doesn't have that same premium vibe as the standard Magista Obra, and I think that just might be because you can't actually see the fly in it. It's definitely there, you can feel it. It feels identical both on feet as well as in hand, but because you can't see all the knitted pattern in the shoe, again, it doesn't have that same premium vibe about it, but once the shoes get dirty a little bit, it's not something that you're really going to notice. And again, some people just don't like this pattern at all, and if you don't like it, you absolutely hate it, your best option is to go with a solid color on the NikeiD through the NikeiD customization service. Now, as far as other customization options are concerned, like I said, blue base, and that changes the little rim around the heel counter, actually the entire heel counter. It changes this little tab right here at the back going up the Achilles tendon area. And then, of course, the base of the sole plate also turns into that same Game Royal color. In terms of the Nike swoosh, you can see I went with a Volt base, and the only reason why I went with Volt is just so it would kind of have some kind of a combination with the Volt dynamic fit collar and lace area, which you don't have any choice over. It's always Volt no matter what your base color is. So I thought that those two kind of elements tied in well together. You can see that the pattern I put on the Nike swoosh is that interesting green color. You can actually pick it as a base, and I was very, very close to ordering a lucid green one, and that's what it's called. It's called light lucid green, and it's an interesting color. It's basically like a light matte green, and I thought it accented well with the Volt on the Nike swoosh. And honestly, again, the pattern doesn't seem like it's as well done as what you're going to find on the standard colorways of the Magista Obra. Maybe it's just me, but to me this one does seem a little bit sloppier in comparison. Maybe it's because it's not a metallic finish, but again, I guess you can judge it for yourself. And that accent color makes the medial Nike swoosh also solid lucid green, as you guys can see. I went with a black outline for the Nike swoosh, which I thought accented well with this top layer in black. Of course, the black in the studs, which you cannot change. And then the black, I ended up going with that in the laces, again, just to kind of tie the whole thing together. And that's pretty much it as far as what you can actually customize. So you can change the color of the base for the shoe. You can change the main part of the Nike swoosh. You can change the pattern on the Nike swoosh, the outline, as well as the laces. And then, of course, once you're done all that, you can choose your customization. In this case, I went with WC, which stands for World Cup, the Brazilian flag, and then 2014. It's not embroidered or anything like that. It's actually printed on top of the Nike skin covering, and honestly, it almost looks a little bit faded. It's not the highest quality print. It's not as vibrant as I was honestly expecting. It's a white lettering with your Brazilian flag, which again, it almost doesn't seem perfect. You can actually see that slight kind of white outline around the rim. So the quality of it, honestly, isn't quite as good as I was expecting just in terms of the finish. Obviously, the quality of the final product in terms of construction and performance qualities is just right on par with a standard pair of NikeiD. A standard pair of Nike Magista Obra is not a NikeiD variation, but again, I was just expecting the finishing to be a little bit nicer than it ended up being with the NikeiD Magista Obra. But again, if you're going to be wearing the shoe, little details like this aren't too important, but I wish it was a little bit nicer considering it is a $40 premium to get a custom colorway. So other than that, the only real other difference you're going to find from a standard colorway of the Nike Magista and the NikeiD variation is the standard one is made in Italy. The NikeiD variation is made in Bosnia, which honestly, again, doesn't mean too much. The quality is the same, the upper is the same, all the materials are the same. The only difference is going to be the color. As far as tech specs are concerned, everything about the NikeiD Magista Obra in terms of materials and the construction process is exactly the same as the standard Obras. Again, the only difference is going to be the colorway. So in terms of performance, what makes the Magista Obra unique is its one-piece fly knit construction and its mid-cut design. It's the first of its kind and really does provide one of the most unique playing experiences I've ever had from a pair of soccer shoes. I'm going to talk about this a little bit throughout the video, but if you guys do want more information on the overall performance of the Magista Obra, I have several videos on YouTube as well as a link down below in the description to my full written review on my website, soccerreviewsforyou.com. So click the annotations on screen or the link down below in the description if you are looking for more info, because there's lots and lots to learn about the Magista Obra if you haven't watched any of the content I have on it already. So, fly knit upper mid-cut design, what does it do? It basically makes for a sock-like feel. It allows you to almost forget that you're wearing shoes. As opposed to feeling like something that is on your feet, it feels like it's part of your feet. It's an extension of your body, and that's, to me, the best way of describing how this one-piece fly knit kind of enclosure for your foot actually feels when you're wearing them. It's a pretty interesting experience. I've never had it from another pair of soccer shoes, and honestly it is quite pleasant. A lot of people who try out the Magista Obra, if you can get past the looks of the mid-cut design, it definitely is worth giving it a try, because it really is a fantastic shoe, a very natural feeling shoe when it comes to overall performance. So as far as that fly knit construction is concerned, just like the standard colorway, has that kind of honeycomb, very heavily textured pattern. You can see the texturing pretty good when it's actually a solid color. It's a lot more kind of aggressive than you might expect, and it's not there for no reason. It's there actually to provide extra structural integrity to this main area of the upper. The parts that are raised off the shoe are actually thicker. You have extra layers of fly knit material, and that makes for very, very strong lateral stability. And again, I have a traction test video. Those annotations are on screen. Check it out if you want to see the overall performance and responsiveness of the upper. But basically it allows all of this area of the shoe, as well as on the medial side, to be reinforced, but at the same time still be very soft and natural and pretty much sock-like in terms of how it moves and fits to your foot. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in terms of support and just general comfort and flexibility. And again, it's one of the most unique experiences you can get from a pair of soccer shoes. Running within the Flyknit are the Brio cables / Flywire cables that run directly into the lacing system that, again, just increase the general level of support when you tie the laces tight. And then on top of your Nike skin, you have your, on top of your Flywire, you have your Nike skin layer, which in this case is a solid game royal color. That's the same top layer you're going to find on the Hypervenom Phantom, and it gives the shoe a slightly kind of soft wax finish, just providing a little bit of additional grip on the ball, as well as acting as a protective layer for the Flyknit base. And then of course it's also finished off with ACC all conditions control, something that is also included on the NikeiD version. I always get questions on that. And again, that acts as your wet control element for the rest of the shoe. Now that describes the main area of the shoe, whereas where the laces are situated, as well as the dynamic fit collar, are a completely different variety of Flyknit. This Flyknit does not have a Nike skin covering. Instead, it's more of a stretchy material, and you can see the thickness of it. And again, that's something that a lot of people have questions about. The actual thickness of the Magista Obra and the Flyknit on the upper is thicker than that of the Hypervenom Phantom. It's also thicker than that of the Mercurial Vapor 9 or even the Vapor 10. So in terms of overall being protective, this is going to be, other than maybe the Legend 5, the most protective shoe that Nike currently has out there on the market. Also alongside with this very solid and very kind of tightly woven Flyknit material, you have a padded liner on the inside, which is something that I can't really show you because I can't actually open up the shoe, but it is there and it does make for a nice, soft, comfortable fit and some decent protection should you get stepped on for a shoe that definitely is on the thinner side. I won't lie about that. So you have this elasticated area across the top of your foot, and when you put your foot inside the shoe, it kind of stretches and then kind of compresses to the exact shape of your foot even before you've tied the laces. So it has that, again, that very sock-like sensation when you put these on your feet. And then of course with that extension piece that makes the shoe mid-cut, again, there's no real structure here. It's just very stretchy Flyknit, no perforations. It makes for a very natural fit. It's definitely a little bit weird at first, and the break-in process with this particular shoe should be slow. Don't wear these straight into a game because you probably will get blisters. You just have to adjust to the slightly different way that this shoe hugs your heel and ankle. Normally a shoe doesn't hug your ankle, but this one will, and it fits, like I said, slightly different in the heel than a standard pair of soccer cleats do. But once you get a couple of hours wear time in these, kind of very slowly, just maybe 20-30 minutes at a time, they become very comfortable very quickly. And once they're fully broken in, they feel, like I said, extremely natural. And even though They are light, not the lightest shoe on the market. You really do forget that you're wearing shoes at times, which is, like I said, an experience that only a handful of shoes can provide, and none in such a unique way that the Nike Magista Obra does. Now, as far as questions on this type of dynamic fit collar, does it get in the way? No. Does it overstretch? No. Does it allow for water to seep through? No. It's actually one of the most waterproof shoes currently on the market, believe it or not. And in terms of whether or not this is durable, I've been wearing the standard pair for about a month now, and I've had no issues with it whatsoever. It actually feels quite durable. And again, I think once people have the opportunity to hold these in their hands, the skepticism as to the overall durability and quality of the Flyknit construction for the upper definitely will go away, because they are extremely well-made shoes. As far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, you can see I have a one-piece sole plate including a heel counter, which does make for a decent amount of protection at the back, and also has some kind of clamping force on the inside, kind of keeping your heel locked inside the shoe. Again, it feels a little bit strange to just take the break-in process a little bit more slowly with the Obra or even the Superfly 4 than you might normally do with a standard pair of low-cut soccer shoes. And as far as the sole plate is concerned, it's a combination of compressed nylon, which makes up the base of the sole plate, and then you can see this black area is actually P-back, so it's going to be a little bit more flexible. The glass nylon is relatively stiff from right out of the box, so again, some break-in time required. Other than the P-backs is there, kind of almost unnecessary if you ask me. The glass nylon is going to make up the majority of the feel here, but for the most part, once broken in, it has a nice responsive feel, but at the same time is flexible enough to give you that nice natural sensation from the Magista Obra. As far as the stud pattern is concerned, it's a variation on what you get from the Tiempo Legend, with the main exception being that the studs in the back are conical as opposed to being bladed. The conical studs are fairly narrow in profile, so they penetrate the ground quite well, providing a good amount of grip, but because they are conical in shape, you still have plenty of maneuverability when planted. And then of course you have your Mercurial-esque stud right at the tip of the toe, which doesn't make a huge difference, but when you are on the tip of your toes, there is a slight amount of additional grip, which to me is always appreciated, and it's a small element that you're going to find on all of Nike's current models. So again, a nice little addition that I think we're going to see a lot more of from Nike in the future. So that's pretty much it as far as tech specs are concerned, and move on next to a quick weigh-in so you can see how lightweight these guys are. As far as weight goes, the NikeiD Magista Obra feels pretty much the same as the standard colorway, but just to be 100% sure, we're going to throw these on the scale for you today in real time. Keep in mind this is a brand new pair in a size 9 US. Going to throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.1 ounces, which is pretty much identical to that of the standard colorway, give or take 0.1 ounces, which is nothing you're going to notice on feet, or anything that you're going to notice in hand for that matter. So for the most part, if you're looking for something that is light, the Magista Obra is a solid option, but that is definitely not, to me at least, the main reason why you would go for this shoe. If you're looking for that natural feel, with the addition of the shoe being lightweight and still very, very solid, the Magista Obra is definitely something to consider. So with that being said, let's move on next to a quick on feet so you can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit, and of course, what the sizing is like. Alright, so here's a look at the Nike Magista Obras on feet, and in terms of how they fit and feel, the NikeiD version, again, feels exactly the same as the standard colorway release. So if you were worried about that, don't be, because like I said, they're the same shoe, just with a different color. In terms of visuals, obviously it's a mid-cut shoe, so it does look a little bit odd. Some people are going to love the look of the Magista Obra, others are absolutely going to hate it, and that's really down to opinion. Not everybody is going to be interested in this shoe. I think everyone's going to be a little bit curious, but some people will write it off simply because of that mid-cut concept. And I was a little bit skeptical, but after wearing the shoes and getting used to them, they will feel odd at first. I definitely will give it that. Once you get used to them though, it's a very fun shoe to wear. It does have that one-to-one sensation, that forget you're wearing shoes sensation, and it truly does feel like an extension of your body once you have the proper fit and once they're properly broken in. Now, in terms of the overall fit of this shoe, it does feature the X1.1 last from the Hypervenom Phantom, but at the same time it does feel quite a bit different in terms of fit. There's a decent amount of width to it, especially because this kind of no sock design where you have this stretchy Flyknit material in the middle. It allows the shoe to expand quite nicely only in this area of the foot. So the side area of the shoe where you have this kind of honeycomb pattern is not going to have any stretch to it whatsoever. So the base of the shoe isn't particularly narrow. It's got a decent amount of width to it. And I would say that as long as you don't have excessively wide feet, these shoes are actually going to fit you quite comfortably. They fit most people, and because it does have, like I said, that elasticated effect, the one-piece design, it pretty much forms and kind of hugs to the exact shape of your foot pretty much from right out of the box, making for a sock-like fit as Nike describes it. In terms of sizing, I say the Magista Obra runs true to size. I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. And one recommendation that I do have in regards to sizing with the Magista Obra is that you get a size that is not too big for you. If you're wearing these shoes with a ton of extra space at the toe, you're never going to have the proper fit in the heel. It's not going to fit you tight enough to allow for a proper fit. You're going to get lots of slippage in the heel area. And again, it's one of those shoes that you don't want to buy with more than, I would say, half a thumb's width of space at the tip of the toe if you are planning on growing a little bit. So again, make sure you buy the right size, make sure they're not too big, and you'll have a really good experience with the Magista Obra. Other than that though, that's pretty much it as far as how they look and feel on feet, and I'll leave you to my final thoughts. Alright guys, that's it for my review of the NikeiD Magista Obra. Overall, it's a cool service, and at the end of the day, you do end up with a quality product. The only downside is it does take 4 to 6 weeks, but at the start of the video, I did mention that it's always been closer to 4 for me, so if it takes 6 weeks, I guess you're just a little bit unlucky. And other than that, the only other downside is going to be the price. It's a $40 premium, which is a little bit steep considering that the shoe is already $275, but at the same time, it isn't unreasonable to ask that extra $40 if you are getting a custom colorway. And if you just can't live with the standard color of the Magista Obra, or you just want a colorway to match your own team kit or something like that, then the NikeiD route is definitely one that I can recommend. Not to mention the Magista Obra is a very unique and a fantastic overall performance product if you're looking for the latest and greatest and perhaps the future of soccer cleats. Again, I'll leave several annotations on screen to some of my review videos on the Magista Obra, as well as a link down below in the description to the review page for the NikeiD version, as well as the standard variation where you will find the high quality images to give you a better idea as to some of the close-up details on the shoe. And you also find buy it now links for the standard colorways well below the retail price, along with the exclusive SR4U coupon codes if you are interested in ordering a pair of these for yourself. Other than that though guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions regarding the NikeiD service or the NikeiD Magista Obra that I received, be sure to leave your comments down below. I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.